Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast, powered by the African American Marketing Association. Each week, we'll bring you an insightful conversation from some of the best experts in our industry on how to advance our career. Join the collective of Black marketers across the world, advancing their brand as we work towards creating a collaborative community. Welcome to the Marketing for the Culture podcast. I have two special guests for you. I have Krystal and Mike. They are the owners of Black Creative Group, which is a Black-owned creative marketing agency specializing in visual branding, website development, and BIPOC messaging and digital advertising. Based in DC, Mike and Krystal, welcome to the show. How are y'all doing today?
Great. Thanks, Michelle, for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So before we get started into the deep of the interview, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourselves?
Awesome. Krystal, ladies first.
Absolutely. So, hey, everyone listening in. I'm Krystal Glass, the co-founder of Black Creative Group. And on my side of the business, I really focus on the PR, public relations, and messaging side of things. And so everything from helping clients develop their message to communicating that message, especially as it relates to BIPOC audiences. And so when you think of Black Creative Group, we really are that one-stop shop for designing and creating culturally relevant messaging, marketing, and design. And so with that, I'll toss it over to my partner, Mike.
Thank you. My name is Mike Utaegbulam, one of the co-founders of Black Creative Group. And I echo what Krystal said. We have evolved with the times, and our service offerings have evolved to really provide that messaging and marketing for companies that are looking to get out a message to a diverse audience. So great to be on this podcast and love to talk more about what we do.
Yeah. So what led to Black Creative Group? The formation of the actual business?
Truly, working with Mike, I guess I'll give you all a little backstory. So Mike and I first started just working together as associates, not even quite friends just yet, but really just recognizing each other's value and saying, hey, we should start partnering more. We should start teaming up more. It's so much money and opportunities to be made that, together we could really grow a company. And so Mike, reached out and was continuing to send business my way, was continuing to shape our relationship and partnership. And from there, we really just decided that, okay, let's build. And actually, that's what I would say to your listeners too, is if you're, working with someone or considering working with someone, especially another Black person, consider taking it to the next level. Consider thinking about how to actually form a business on paper. So, of course, you would start by, partnering together, but then consider going into a full-scale business, getting it, on paper, starting your LLC together. And so with that, I'm just excited about the things that Mike and I have been able to do together as two Black creatives coming together and just building from there.
So I know Mike, you were sending business to Krystal, but I guess you can see someone, they do good work and they have success, but what were some of the maybe soft and hard skills that you were considering to say, hey, I think we can really be partners and do this thing?
Krystal had the polish. I say it all the time. And she had the look. And I knew of Krystal before we actually met. She used to, I think she still does, she used to host these candid conversations within DC. And so I knew of her before we, physically met. And you should always have a partner that complements you in things that you lack. And when it came down to partnering or even working with someone at that level, she was the first person that I thought of. And it just worked out ever since.
That's awesome to hear, actually. That's cool. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, it's been a really cool journey. And I'm glad you asked that question, Michelle, because that, just opens up some of the things that, we should be looking for as founders, but also, of course, that your listeners can look for.
Yeah, what I like about your story, and I watch a lot of YouTube. I don't remember what I watched, but it was one of these Black summits, Black entrepreneur summits, and it did speak how we need to do more mergers and acquisitions. And I know I've been trying to, I think I would probably let my company go tomorrow for the right person because I have so many ideas. But as a marketing consultant, I have a lot of conversations, and I'm like, hey, I know this person that does this, and you're just getting started. Why don't you, talk to them? And they're like, no, I want my own thing. So what advice? I think that hurts our community sometimes, but what advice can you give to someone to encourage them to think about a business partner, as well as just business ventures, because it's hard to do everything by yourself. Business is hard in general, but then it's hard to do everything by yourself as well.
Yeah, on my side, best advice, and it kind of touches on the tail end of what you were saying, in terms of, the difficult and the challenge behind trying to do everything by yourself. And so I actually was self-owned, self-operated, self-everything for years, 6 years. And it was very difficult. Not only that, the name of my business is also my name. And so what comes with that is like an extra layer of security and an extra layer of, unwillingness to open up and hand off the business to someone else or delegate things. And so I had to learn the hard way, which a lot of business owners do and entrepreneurs do when they, stay in that box of self and stay in that box of wanting to do everything by themselves. So truly, that's my best advice. It is removing any barriers of selfness. Is that the word I want to say? Yes. Hopefully you all catch where I'm coming from, but removing those barriers to where you're disabling yourself from working with others. And I think that's also the beauty of Black Creative Group is our ability to bring on contractors and to continuously work with Black creatives and continuously build from there. So yeah, best advice is don't go at it alone.
With BCG, because marketing is so broad, I guess, were you able, or did you have the conversations about niching down or being a full service marketing agency?
Yeah, it started off as full service and through, working with clients and, with the time you start to realize there's some things that you just aren't good at or you don't find joy out of it. So eventually we moved into the BIPOC space because we both knew that this is something that we take joy in and we do really well together. And then we would just fall through with that. And so I believe that's how we found our niche for sure is through work and then just, facing the music and saying that, we no longer want to do this. We no longer want to manage someone's social media accounts for them on a consistent basis. We do want to do impactful engagements with large nonprofits and companies.
Yeah. What are some of the gaps or challenges that you're seeing with organizations when it comes to BIPOC messaging?
Oh, wow. There's a lengthy list of challenges and actual opportunities also where organizations can become more inclusive as it relates to BIPOC inclusivity. But I will say one thing that is shifting, which is a beautiful thing, is that a lot of companies and organizations are realizing that they simply need a person of color in these roles. And so they're not really weighing as heavily the credentials, the school you went to, the certifications and things that you have, because they're realizing that whether it's a white person or other that are in these high level positions that are making decisions around marketing to communities of color, they're realizing that it just doesn't add up, that they simply need a person of color that can really bring in that cultural context, that can really understand messaging and communicate messaging to communities of color. And so I would say the biggest thing to think about, for those organizations and business owners when they're thinking about reaching BIPOC audiences is to simply, run your ideas by a person of color that's in the space, of marketing, messaging, and design.
That's so important because I know, especially last year, I was, hearing from employees that are like, hey, I'm not a marketer. I don't know what messaging looks like. I'm not the person to approve this. So it's like, even though a company may have obviously Black people or people of color hired with the organization, they're not the expert to provide feedback on messaging and social media images, I guess, to help with the organization.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at your website. Do you focus more on nonprofits, or is it a mix of nonprofit and for-profits?
It's definitely a mix of nonprofits. I mean, we both have a background in nonprofit work, and so we can speak really well to that. We convert those clients that come in really well, but we have worked with corporate clients, and we have worked with successful entrepreneurs as well.
Another thing that I liked on your website is you have case studies. I think lots of times when I look at some of the marketing agencies in our community, I kind of feel like case studies are lacking. Can you speak to the benefit of case studies as well as gathering the data and metrics for your clients?
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I've noticed that too, is that there's a huge missed, opportunity to showcase who you are and what you do when you don't put forth your case studies. And I think that, when we think about our community and the community of Black marketers and creatives, sometimes it's really just a case of not having the time, and being in that situation where you are the web developer, the marketer, the accountant, the CPA. But I would say it's so important, top 3 important to showcase and demonstrate your case studies.
And if I could piggyback off of that, Chris and I had this conversation very early on. There are people that are less talented than you that can sell themselves really well through case studies that get more work and bigger clients. And you just have to make the time. Even with our website, it took a while to get it to this point, but we just had to make the time, and we've seen the benefits of that already. And so people want to be able to see your thought process and how you were able to bring value to their client so that they can make a decision if they want to work with you or not. And that's just helped out. So those case studies are so important. Even in your proposal deck, those case studies will help the client make the decision.
And then it's a humble brag or an overt brag. I mean, we name drop all the time. We're like, listen, we've worked with U.S. Black Chambers. We've worked with the National Association of Chronic Disease Directors. Like we name drop all the time unapologetically because we can show the work that we've done, and we can show how happy our clients are with our work.
So I mentioned the data and the metrics earlier. What are some of the tools or resources that you use to compile data, be it for your organization or even your clients?
As it relates to a specific like project, or are we talking can you get more detail on that?
Social media, analytics. There's just so much because every social media platform has insights, data that you can retrieve, I guess, but it can be cumbersome to compile all of that information together Whether once again, it's like, okay, did we get more traffic on our website this month, for your company or for a client?
So if I had to recommend one tool, it would be Sprout Social. And I use that as an example because you can plug in the website analytics, you could plug in the ad analytics, you could plug in social media analytics, and really pull out a report to see how successful a digital ad campaign was. And really, what's happening, if you look at what's happening, Facebook is getting rid of the analytics platform, and these other platforms are getting rid of it because you want to have one home for all the data. So just so it's easy to look at everything at one time. And so Sprout Social is a great tool, but if you had to go individually, Google Analytics is great for any type of web or app analytics. And then each individual social media platform has their own analytic platform, but Sprout Social is 100% recommended.
How do you see marketing changing in the next 5 to 10 years?
The next 5, we're seeing it already where representation is, really a priority right now, and not just representation, in one way, shape, or form, but we're seeing all forms of Black people, which is beautiful, from the Black nerd crew to the Black natural hair crew to the Black EDM crew. And I think it's so beautiful that representation is at the forefront, not only for the Black community, but people of color in general. And it's not to, exclude or, put our white counterparts to the side, but it's really to say, hey, historically, this is what we've all seen and known. And so now when we look at marketing and we look 5 years from now, it's so refreshing to see the diversity. And that's also one of the things that we focus on is, so in this DEI space, we really decided we want the lane of inclusion. And so inclusivity marketing is more than just looking at ways to, showcase certain communities, but is looking at ways to actually impact these communities through the messaging, through the visuals. People resonate and relate to pictures that, move them in a way, or pictures that influence their decision. And so when we think about images and messaging in 5 to 10 years, I definitely see a lot of what's happening now, which is that representation is the focal point.
I definitely agree because I do include some marketing consulting as well. So it's been interesting watching clients on this journey, how they're learning and evolving. Some of the pushback I get, more so from, I'm in Houston, so oil and gas is popular here. So I'll say older white men. I guess, do you think the consumer is going to remain intelligent when it comes to determining if a company is being performative? Because I'll hear some of the white guys who are like, well, I can, of course I can create some images and I'll be done with it. And I'm like, yes, but the consumer is smarter than that. So I guess, how do we negate some of those arguments?
Yeah, I think when we talk about negating the argument of, it really boils down to authenticity versus just this bland style of, just putting out stock imagery of Black and brown people. And I think when you can pull together the analytics, you can really make the case. When you can show, this oil tycoon or this oil billionaire that, hey, your image of this stock photo of a Black teenager isn't resonating as well as this image that's more realistic, that's more of the times. It's a Black teenager with, a funky haircut or with a bright shirt on, versus those stock imageries of the straight-laced looking individual. And so I think more than anything, going into that type of conversation and making the case for that type of argument, you're going to have to arm yourself with analytics, being able to show the numbers behind the proof.
Can't run from the numbers. Data. Okay. Any advice for agency owners that are tuning in?
I would start off with there is power in partnership. At the top of 2020, I personally did a logo as a freelancer for 150, and then at the bottom with Krystal, we did this rebranded campaign for a corporation for far more than $150. And it's just, that for me sealed the deal on, I could have never dreamt of going after something like that as a freelancer, as an individual. And so a partner, I would recommend that a lot of these small agencies consider partnering with each other. Because if you look at the top 3 agencies, in the world, you have, WPP, Omnicom, these are conglomerates of agencies that keep buying agencies and adding those services and contacts to become the biggest ones. And so, you could be the next, Omnicom or IPG if you consider merging your services and attacking some of the larger brands for, contracts. So definitely look at merging and finding partners.
Absolutely. Krystal, any final words or piece of advice?
Yeah, definitely. Final words is, continue to buy Black, be Black, and do everything Black. That's just words from understanding that we're in a very special time where, we can't afford to downplay our appreciation for one another, and we can't be afraid that we're offending or stepping on other people's toes when we're simply in a space of wanting to love and support each other. And so my final words will really be around that, will really be around finding partnerships within the Black marketing community, supporting Black marketers, and, being unapologetically Black at the end of the day.
I love it. And what is the best way to contact y'all?
You definitely go to our website, blackcreativegroup.com, and it has all of our services, and you can contact us through the contact form. We'll definitely be in touch.
Okay. And just to make sure, are y'all looking, I think it was mentioned earlier, are you looking for creatives or marketers?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. The work is coming in.
Absolutely.
Mike, what all do we need? I know a web developer. What's some of the positions we need right now?
Web developer, UI UX designer, someone that could design website layouts that are, super dope. And then a digital strategist, so someone that can really look at the paid advertising and provide recommendations and draw up those plans for us. So those are the top 3 contract positions we're looking for. But again, please send us resumes, and we'll definitely, if it's talent, we'll definitely take a look.
Absolutely. So y'all can stop texting me. Black Creative Group, and I'm going to have those links in the show notes because we definitely want to give everyone an opportunity and create wealth, share the wealth, and grow. I'm all about creating a collaborative community. Well, Mike and Krystal, I want to thank you both for being a guest on the Marketing for the Culture podcast.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you for listening to Marketing for the Culture podcast. If you haven't already, please subscribe, whether it's on Apple, Google, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And of course, our videos are on YouTube. If you have a moment, feel free to give us a rate, review, or just comment. We appreciate our sponsors for their continuous support. Also, if you're interested in learning more about our sponsors or becoming a member of the African American Marketing Association, visit aa-ma.org.